Good. So, welcome to the first webinar for the Action Open Call. My name is Gefion Thurma, and I'm organizing this call and consequently this webinar. And I'm going to talk you through how the application process works and what we can and cannot do for you. The Open Call 2020 is the second open call of the Action project. It opened on the 1st of September and it will close on the 1st of November, both at 12 Central European time. That's lunchtime, not midnight. What we will do in this first webinar is we will cover the purpose of the Action Accelerator and the benefits of you taking part in that, who can apply, how you can apply, how we select the winners, and then there will be a Q&A. As I said before, the webinar is recorded, and there will be another live webinar with the same content on the 2nd October. So if you've already attended today, you can obviously still attend the second webinar, but the content itself, the presentation itself, will be identical. Who Action is? Action is a research project focused on a participatory science toolkit to combat pollution. Pollution is one of the greatest threats to human health, to well-being. It kills more people than smoking, hunger, natural disasters, war, and diseases together. As a project, we take a citizen science approach to tackling pollution that is based on co-design. We want to implement and test novel methodologies, tools, and resources to make citizen science projects more open, more innovative, more diverse, and more sustainable. And the Accelerator is set up to support new and ongoing citizen science projects in Europe and worldwide. The project itself, Action, runs for 3 years, and it's funded by the European Union's Horizon 2020 framework. It started in February 2019 and will run through to January 2022. It's delivered by a partnership of 10 institutions from the UK, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, and Spain. It's led by King's College London, which is where I'm working. It's been bootstrapped with 5 initial citizen science pilots that are part of the consortium. We have added a further 6 projects in the first open call in 2019. And in the second call, we are looking to add 4 more projects. Apologies. In terms of the timeline, we have prepared the call. This step is complete. You can currently apply up to the 1st of November. We will then shortlist candidates by the 25th of November. So you will know whether or not you are shortlisted by the 25th or on the 25th. All interviews for the second call will be held between the 30th November and the 4th December. If you are successful in both the shortlisting and the interview, we will start into a negotiation phase where we discuss exactly what you do in your project, and I'll go into a little bit more detail on that later. That will happen between the 11th December and the 26th of February. We will sign a contract at the end of that, and the next Accelerator will begin in March 2021 and run for another 6 months. Just to give you a brief overview of the projects we are currently working with. As I said earlier, we have a number of, welcome, can you please switch off your camera and microphone, please? We are currently working with a number of citizen science projects. Street Spectra and Street Colors in Spain are both looking at light pollution. So is Tatort Streetlight in Germany. We are also looking at insects. Loss of the Night also looks at light pollution. Please, can you switch off your camera and microphone? There's a DIY sensing project in Norway that works with students, with school students, to build and install air pollution sensors. And we're working with the Dutch butterfly conservation on a project on dragonflies and pesticides and water pollution. The 6 projects that have joined us in the first open call, so these started last year, are Citycom Plastic, which looks at plastic pollution in Norway. In My Backyard, which looks at pesticides in home gardening in Portugal. Noise Maps, who are exploring the soundscape of Barcelona through a number of sound sensors. Sonic Kayaks is working with people with visual impairments to measure water and air pollution in Cornwall in the UK. And Water for Future is based between Italy and Chile. So as I said earlier, projects can be international. And they look at water pollution in one of the most polluted areas in the world. Wow Nature in Italy is looking at air pollution in the Po Valley. So this is just to give you an overview of what sort of projects we are working with already. The call 2020, as I said, opened on the 1st of September and will close on the 1st of November, both midday, not midnight. Applications are all online and handled through the EasyChair platform. All of the links are on our website. As part of your application, you will have to submit contact details, a short proposal form, and a declaration of honor. That needs to be signed by an executive of your organization or yourself if you're applying on your own. Applications will be reviewed and shortlisted by an interdisciplinary team of experts from the action team and the wider team from the consortium. And there are 25,000 euros of funding and support available for you to deliver a project of 6 months through the Action Accelerator when you are successful. As part of that accelerator, we provide intensive training on a variety of topics such as project design, diversity and inclusion, citizen engagement, data management, funding, and sustainability. You will be assigned an online mentor that will help you with regular check-ins and support. There are tools and infrastructure available to host projects and your data, and also to facilitate participatory data collection and analysis. We offer bespoke consultancy on a diverse set of citizen science challenges, similar to the training, including data quality, data preservation, GDPR, research ethics, EDI, and this will, to a degree, be framed around what your requirements are. We will promote you via the news of on the Action website, on social media, through our project partners, and we will also provide opportunities for you to present your projects at conferences and other related events. There will be peer learning and networking between the successful projects, and that will be facilitated through workshops and online tools. And there will be webinars on relevant topics as they come up during the accelerator. There's also a number of things that we will expect in return for this. We will expect you to attend the training and the co-design workshops that we offer. You will have to attend a monthly update call with your mentor and potentially with the other pilots. You will need to provide monthly updates and a formal report outlining your activities at the end of the pilot. You will need to provide a short video about the work that you've done that we will share on the Action website and also on our wider network. You will have to participate in the Action Impact Assessment activities that include at least 2 surveys that will be sent through you to your citizen scientists, tracking your project against key performance indicators, and also complete an impact assessment canvas. You may be asked to attend interviews and provide feedback to the Action team, and you will have to attend a graduation at the end of the project at the Action conference, which is currently being planned. This call is for projects that are primarily carried out online. This was not the case in the first call. We have changed this for the second call. And when we say projects that are primarily carried out online, what we mean is that the project itself, such as the project communication, but also the project's activities, such as the things that you do in interaction with your citizen scientists, all of these should be carried out online. We will prioritize applications that engage with citizens in new and innovative scientific activities, that produce new results or outputs, and that are mutually beneficial for citizen scientists and project administrators. And we particularly encourage applications that address marginalized, disadvantaged, or vulnerable groups to engage in citizen science, especially those groups that are not commonly found in citizen science groups. Apply can organizations or consortia seeking to address a challenge clearly related to pollution. This is important. It has to be related to pollution because that is what action is about. It should be ongoing citizen science projects that are looking for support, financial or otherwise, to grow and become sustainable. It could be communities interested in co-designing research into pollution in any relevant discipline, really, from biodiversity to environmental sciences, to astronomy, to the humanities. We're very open to creative ideas. And it should be organizations in the public, private, or third sector exploring the use of citizen science in their work. Applicants must be legal entities or consortia. And if you're applying as a consortium, you need to appoint a leading organization that will make the submission. You must be eligible to receive Horizon 2020 funding, which includes obviously all of the European countries and the associated countries. And there is more guidance on this in the guide for applicants, which has a list of all the eligible countries. Immediate family, partners, or other people with direct ties to the action team cannot apply. What is the funding for? Now, successful applicants will work with us to design, implement, and present the findings from a pollution-related citizen science project for the duration of 6 months. The funding, so the up to 20,000 euros, can be spent on can be spent on salaries, on equipment, on consumables, on travel, on subcontracting, and on indirect expenditure, such as office goods, for up to 25% of the total cost. And we will walk you through exactly how that budgeting works when you are successful in the interview. That will be part of the negotiation process. Activities cannot receive double funding. If you're already receiving funding from, say, another Horizon 2020 grant, you cannot fund the same activity through the Action Open Call. However, if there are complementary purposes between what you want to do in Action and what you already do, that is no problem. And we can discuss that as part of the negotiation process. The types of application we are looking for. As I said earlier, anything related to pollution, including but not limited to raising awareness of the effects of pollution on environmental issues, generating new knowledge about pollution and its causes or its effects, and efforts to prevent pollution. And we're working on a broad and inclusive understanding of citizen science. We want ideas that will make a real difference to local, national, or even at the international level. They should be citizen-led or co-created initiatives. Those are of particular interest. They don't have to be, but there will be a bonus in your application. And we also welcome novel or underexplored approaches. So if you have a new idea for the use of citizen science, we're very interested to hear about that. How do you apply? The best place to start is our website, which has all of the basic information and all of the documents and templates that you need to apply, including all of the links. And you can find that at actionproject.eu/apply-2020. I heartily recommend that you read the guide for applicants in detail, as well as the FAQ and the tutorial documents also available on the website. You will need to create an account on EasyChair if you do not have one yet. You will need to answer a series of questions in the EasyChair submission form and upload all the relevant documents. As I said earlier, that will be a short proposal based on the template that you can download from our website, which cannot be longer than 4 pages. This is a hard limit. And you will also need to submit a signed and dated declaration of honor. Everything needs to be submitted on the 1st of November, by the 1st of November lunchtime. The proposal itself is structured in 3 sections and a summary. So we will ask you to provide a summary of your project and some basic details. Describe the idea of your project. What is it? How is it relevant to our call? What data do you want to use to work with? The impact of your project. What do you expect the outcome to be? How is the project sustainable? Or how do you want to make it sustainable? And then the implementation of it. What activities are there that you actually have planned? What do you want to do? Who do you want to have involved in your team? And what is your proposed budget? The rules are what keep you eligible, so please take special care following these. The template cannot be changed. It's in a tabular format, and that is intentional, and you cannot change the size of the columns, you cannot change the spacing or the font size. When you submit, you should download a local copy, obviously remove the cover page, which explains these rules, and then answer the questions in the form. As I said, it cannot be longer than 4 pages. All the questions must be answered. Do not delete the questions. Do not delete questions that you do not want to respond to. Everything has to be filled out. Font size is 11 point and single spacing, as should be already the case in the template you can download. Annexes are not allowed. It has to be these 4 pages and nothing more. You can provide links to your website or to previous work, but you cannot link external documents as part of your application, because that would circumvent our 4 pages rule. So supplementary information that you include as links will not be considered. The budget must be for the 6-month accelerator and amount to no more than 20,000 euro. You can use charts, mockups, or screenshots or any other images that you like in your application, but they must remain readable. And then the proposal should be uploaded on EasyChair in PDF format. When you apply, start by reading the guide for applicants and the FAQ. Be brief and be to the point in your application. The proposal is meant to convince us that you should be shortlisted. When you are shortlisted, you can give us more details during your interview. Use specific examples where you can. Use bullet points, use graphs, use tables, anything that helps you bring your point across in a concise way. Be bold in what you propose, but please also be realistic. We want to fund things that are important, but we also want to see them delivered in the space of 6 months. All 3 sections of the application are equally important, so you should spend roughly equal time preparing all of them and answering all the questions. Regarding intellectual property and data, you will be the sole owner of the results and outcomes of your project and all associated IP. We do expect that proposals follow an open approach, and we will prioritize applications that have a well-articulated plan to share their results, to open up their data, to share their experience and outputs with the wider scientific community and also with the general public. For citizen science projects where citizens produce data, you need to explain in the application how you will handle concerns around data protection and GDPR. We may require you to share data with the action team to inform the design of our toolkit, which is the goal we have as a research project. And that may include the contributions of your citizens or anonymized or aggregated data on your participation. How we select winners? There will be at least 2 reviewers for every eligible application. Reviewers will provide an overall score on a 5-point scale, and that will be informed by the strengths of each of your 3 sections. Reviewers will also provide feedback, which we will share with you. Successful applicants will be shortlisted and invited to interview. Finally, action is about pollution in any form. So long as your idea has a clear link to pollution, you can be considered. But if that link is not there, if we cannot see how your idea is linked to pollution, your application cannot be considered. If you submit incomplete or late applications, those will also not be considered. If you think something in our process does not apply to you, please contact us through call@actionproject.eu well in advance. We cannot promise that we can respond to emails that come in 5 minutes before the deadline. Pollution is a global challenge, and pilot activities do not have to be carried out in Europe. Please refer to the guide for applicants for a list of the eligible countries for Horizon 2020 funding. And also, we really want to add to your project. We want to know what would happen. Apologies. What would happen if you do not receive this funding, and why receiving it and why participating in action would make a real difference for your project. For questions, as I said, read the guide for applicants and have a look at the FAQ. You can always contact us by email on call@actionproject.eu or on Twitter @action4cs. A recording of this webinar will be sent to all the participants, and there's another webinar on the 2nd of October. And if you have any questions, you are welcome to post these in the chat or to ask them in voice and or video. As I said earlier, this meeting is recorded and will be published. So if you want to post questions yourself, please be aware that that will be recorded. Do you have any questions?
So thank you so much for the clarification about the open call. So one question is, can we engage as part of the consortia to the institution that will bring the end users? Because even when this will be online, I understand that people can participate from their home, or they will continue participating anyway. They will do the action even when they need to adapt to the COVID situation. So the engagement of the association or the end users, we are talking about association, we are talking about schools, we are talking about what different formats. What is the best way, in your opinion, to engage them as part of the project, as a part of the consortia, as a kind of letter of intent, or what is the best mechanism you consider based on the first call experience?
That is a good question. I think that very much depends on who you want to work with. And I would recommend that you have a look at the projects we already engage on that, which are also all listed on our website, and maybe have a look at how they engage with their citizen scientists. Some of them work with existing clubs. For example, the light pollution projects from Spain work with the local astronomy club. And that club is not part of the consortium, but they are linked, so they work together. Whether or not an organization that gives you access to the citizen scientists should be part of your consortium very much depends on what you want to do with them. So there is no one-size-fits-all answer to that question.
Okay, so if we just declare how we will do the engagement, that should be enough, is what I understand. Because here, what I find very challenging is how to manage the citizen engagement, these activities, because the online will be an additional challenge. So this is important to be clear that we will be able to collect the people. So the other way would be very difficult because we cannot organize workshop or physical activities that we can make this call effect of organizing people in a physical place.
Yes. Well, so our projects at the moment, especially the ones that we have recruited through the open call, have all struggled with the COVID situation, which is one of the reasons why we are focusing on online projects for the second call. And they have successfully run online workshops. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that is not a possibility. It depends on how you can reach the people, and that will depend on your personal network.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the answer. Very clear.
No worries. We have some questions in the chat, I think. Let me just briefly look. Help with a data platform. Does that include help on building an independent platform for our initiative? No, it does not. What we can offer is we have an open data portal that you will be able to use. And we are working with a number of projects that are already using open source apps and things that can be used for data collection. We will not help you build an app or build a new platform as part of your project per se. If that is something that you think you want to apply to do with your citizen scientists, we would ask you to explain in detail how that will be possible in the space of 6 months. Another question. I would like to know if the application should include any agreement documents with the research institute and NGOs if they are not partners in the consortium. We will assume that when you say you apply with the help of an NGO that will provide you access to your participants or whatever the case may be, we will not require a letter of support as part of the application, just because annexes are not allowed and you cannot do that. So we will have to take you by your word when you say that you will do that. You can be sure that we will ask questions about that when it comes to interviews. So we will definitely want to know more about exactly how that will work. So if you explain well in your application exactly how that relationships works and what you will do with external organizations, that would be useful. When would the 6-month accelerator period start? That would be on the 1st of March 2021, and then for 6 months from there. Is this call for online projects only, or can we still apply for projects which include field activities? Your communication and the majority of your project should be online. If there is an element of field activity, that is acceptable, but the focus should be on online projects. So it depends on the balance. Is there an opportunity for pre-evaluation of ideas? My company has several ideas, or can you help choose the best one? No, unfortunately, we cannot. You will have to make up your mind. And I would recommend that you have a close look at our guide for applicants, which should give you a lot of guidance on exactly what we are looking for. And then you can choose the best suited project based on that. Should the project start exactly in March, or can it be later? It will start, the accelerator will start on the 1st of March. That is a set date. It cannot start later because we have an end date as a project. Action ends in January 2022, and we cannot move that date. So if your project starts later, it will not fit into our timeline as an overall project, I'm afraid. Are there more questions? Is it possible to submit more than one idea? No. You can submit one application as one organization. How precisely should we explain the use of funds? What does overheads mean? Overheads, let me start from the back. Overheads are the 25% of the total cost that you can spend on other things. The budget we expect as part of the application is very brief. If you've had a look at the application template, it's really just a quick table that tells us roughly where your figures go, and then a bit of explanation about exactly what you want to spend the money on. There will be a more detailed budget, which will explain a lot about exactly how the overheads work and exactly what are not eligible costs when you are successful at the interview. So we do not expect the budget that you submit with your application to end up being the final budget for the project. There will be a negotiation process between the application, the interview, and the start of the accelerator. How many participants is the recommended number? What has been the best experience in terms of experiment size? That is not, there is no ideal size, because the number of participants you should have depends on the project that you want to run. At the moment, we have projects that can have hundreds of participants. If you look, for example, at Street Spectra, or if you look at City Complastic, they are currently working with, I think, 4 citizen scientists in a very focused way. So it depends. It depends what you want to do. I have a raised hand from Sandra. Do you want to ask your questions on microphone?
Yes, please. It's because I think it's a bit hard to explain my question typing it. It's a follow-up on the question about the field work part and the online setup. Mm-hmm. I find it hard to understand the answer you gave, because I believe that a lot of things that have to do with pollution are partly field observations, measurements, being actually like in the environment, you could say, that is polluted. Mm-hmm. So that means sort of, well, I maybe maybe I have a little bit limited imagination, but I can't really imagine any project that is concerned about pollution that would not have that field part in it. So does that mean that sort of the proposal needs to be focused on the online setup, or that the, you know what I'm trying to say is like, I don't really understand how a project like this can mostly or only be online. So I am a bit confused by this online request, I think.
Yeah. So I cannot give you a detailed description of exactly how that would work, because that would be part of what you would suggest in your application. But so as an example, one of the projects, again, coming back to the projects we currently work with, Street Spectra, hosted in Spain, is working with an online platform where participants can upload photos with light spectra. And all of that happens online. Yes, the participants sort of go on the street and take photos of streetlights, but they do that independently. And the main communication, the focus of how the data is collected and gathered, all of that happens online, same as all of the communication with the participants. So yes, I agree, there may be a degree of fieldwork required, depending on exactly what you want to do. And it will definitely depend on the kind of pollution that you want to address. But do you see what I mean? There can be ways to collect data and still work online.
No, okay, then your answer is now clear to me. But I was unsure how to interpret the first answer. But thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We have more questions in the chat. Let me just catch up with where we are. What is a legal entity and what is a consortium exactly? Well, a legal entity is an organization of some sort, and that will look different depending on where you are based. That can be a foundation, that can be an institute, that can be a small company, that can be a startup. we're very open to any form of legal entity. It cannot be an individual person because we cannot pay funds to individuals. That is why it has to be an entity. Can we ship materials to the participants in case of if that is required? Yes, you could. You would obviously have to budget for that. So again, it will depend on what your project does and what you want to do. Are there more questions? How do you define a consortium? So should there be an official, I don't know, official what? A consortium is anything that is more than one legal entity. It's, as I said earlier in the slides, if you apply as a consortium, you have to select one leading partner who submits the application. And one part of the application form, of the application template, is a list of your team. So you would list the different partners, the different members of the team from the different partners in that section. Any further questions? Am I eligible to apply if I work in the institution which is a legal entity, but I have a time-limited contract? I don't see why that would be a problem, especially if part of the budget would go to fund you for the duration of the project. You will need, the application will need to be signed off, or not the application, but the contract would need to be signed by an executive of the organization. So long as you have buy-in from your superiors to do this, I don't see why the exact format of your contract with the entity should be a problem. Should the applicant, the legal entity, own the citizen science tool? No, you do not have to. We are very open to things that use or produce open source software or tools. And if there's something out there that you can use, that you want to use for your project, that you do not own, that is absolutely fine by us. You should have access to it. You should be able to use it, but you don't have to own it. Who is then executive in the institution? How can I check this? That depends on your institution. In most cases, that would be something like the director or the CEO, whoever is entitled to sign contracts on behalf of the organization. Any further questions? Is it an extra aspect to add if children under 18 are engaged? Yes, because you will have to be more careful about GDPR and exactly what you do with your participants' data. So again, there's a section that talks about data and how you use it, that will ask you about data protection and ethical considerations anyway. So I would invite you to explain exactly how that would work and what the implications are in that section of the application. Are there other funding options in action? I'm afraid not. This is the second of 2 open calls, and this is the only form of funding that we offer. We are not a funder per se. We are a research project, a research and innovation project ourselves. And we want to work with you on projects, but we only have this one way of funding you. How many actions will be shortlisted? Now that will depend on how many applications there are. We are anticipating about 20 to be shortlisted. Any further questions? If there are no further questions, I thank you very much indeed for your participation today. It has been a pleasure. There's something more in the chat. Apologies. In the beginning, you mentioned around 10 projects, but you said that 5 are funded from Action. What is the source of funding for other projects? 5 of the projects, 5 of our pilots are part of the Action Consortium. They have helped us write the original bid for the research project when we applied for it with the European Commission. And the other 6 are funded through the first open call. And I'm afraid there's no way to join the research project itself, the action project itself. Is it possible to engage cities as partners in the consortia? I do not see why not. So long as, again, you have the required buy-in to evidence that later. The second open call will fund 20 projects. No, we will shortlist 20 projects and we will select 4 projects. We have a total budget of for 10 projects. We have already selected 6, so we have 4 more projects that we can fund. Will be a continuation of action in the future, maybe in another form. I do not think so per se. There are other research projects that will use this kind of funding, but none that are a direct follow-up to action as it stands today. I would recommend, if you are interested in further options, to maybe have a look at the EU Citizen Science Platform, which will provide information on that sort of thing in the future. That's a sister project of ours that is working on setting up an overall citizen science platform that helps to share information. Is a geographical quota applied in choosing the 4 funded projects? Not per se. I will say that we do not expect to, say, fund 4 projects from the same country. We want the diversity among our projects because we want to learn from you as well. So if we select 4 projects that do the same thing in the same place, that would not help us. But there is no requirement or no priority for any specific country. Any further questions? No? You are very welcome. The next webinar will be pretty much the same as this presentation-wise. Obviously, I do not know which questions will be asked, so there may be new clarifications as part of that. Any further questions? It doesn't seem to be the case. Well, then, thank you all very much for being here. It was a pleasure talking to you and explaining all of this. If you have any further questions at any point before the deadline, just send us an email or text us on Twitter. And you're obviously also welcome to attend the second webinar. As I said, we'll have similar content, but there will be another opportunity to ask direct questions as well. All right. Have a good day, everyone, and goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.